Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Fall Effect. I am Steve Fall, but on today's edition, I'm talking to the Spice Ranger, Kayla Sparks. How are you
Hey,
doing today?
hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. Is that a China shirt? Are you wearing a
It
China shirt right
is.
now?
I'm looking. Yes, China all the way. She's my favorite, you
Oh my
know?
God. China was one of the most influential women's wrestlers of all time. And if someone says any different, I'm going to
Yeah.
give them a low blow just like China
Oh,
would.
yeah. Yeah, she was an inspiration for me. Like, if China, without China, I probably wouldn't be wrestling today. So,
Wow, really?
yeah,
That
she
much
was,
of an effect?
yeah, I met her when I was like 12 years old, and she just had such a big impact on me growing up. And, she really set the bar with like, she was in there in the ring with the guys and the girls,
Yeah.
and she held her own, and she made history, and I miss her, you know.
So, what about China inspired you?
Oh my gosh, just her presence in the ring was just like unreal. Like she went in the ring and she just like didn't care what anyone thought, and she was a powerhouse. Like she was a legend herself, and like she made history, being the first female to be entering in the Royal Rumble and to win the Intercontinental Championship. Like
Yeah.
she just like she was amazing. And yeah, when I was younger, I got bullied a lot when I was a kid. So like seeing China, just being her own person, and like a lot of people made fun of her, like how she looked, and I thought she was beautiful, and she made history, and I thought she made a big impact on me growing up. So
Of course, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, I have an image of her body slamming Bart Gunn, one half of the
yeah,
smoking gun, just picking him up by his jean butt and just slamming him down.
oh
Low,
yeah,
low blowing the Rock, allowing Triple H to pick up the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam '98. There's a
yep,
lot of China influence, and I'm so happy that you brought up China and you're wearing your shirt because she is
yeah,
someone I think who's influenced so many people. But your story, your backstory of
yeah.
where you come from, where you are now, inspirational, just like China on a different level altogether. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get into wrestling? Was it a friend, a family member? Were you channel surfing?
So I grew up since I was 3 years old. I know that's super young, but my dad sat me down in the recliner, and that was like Hulk Hogan was my favorite and Ultimate Warrior growing up in the late 80s, early 90s. And it just stuck with me, and I just been a fan ever since. And we'd always watch, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown every week, in the living room and watch it. And I was just totally in awe of like all the wrestlers and like the larger than life characters in the ring. And China was definitely one of the inspirations growing up for me. And I had a couple others that definitely inspired me. That I loved was like Sting. He was a big inspiration, and I loved watching him and Undertaker and the Hardy
Yeah.
Boys.
You
I loved growing up watching WCW and like the Attitude Era.
No,
Those are
we
like
wouldn't
the
have been friends if you were a WCW fan.
oh
I talked to Eric Bischoff and I flat out told him I hated him when I was a kid.
I
I,
know you
I,
love to hate them.
I flat
I
out was
know.
like, you hurt my feelings
Aw.
when I told Eric, I said, when you hurt the WWF at the time, you
Oh
hurt
yeah,
me.
I know.
So
I know.
You brought up Sting too, though. Sting, one year
Yeah,
because I was very deep into the Crow movie. The
yeah,
Crow. I love
yeah,
the Crow
yeah,
movie, not Sting at the time. I'm
yeah.
dressed up as the Crow going around trick or treating, and someone's like, "Nice Sting costume." I'm like, "I'm not Sting."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a classic movie. That's funny you mentioned that you dressed up as the Crow because when I was younger in fifth grade, I dressed up as Sting, the NWO Wolfpack Sting for
Oh
Halloween. So
my
yeah,
God! You must have been washing that red paint off your face all night.
I know. It was so much fun.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And now, at the age of 13, though, you had the amazing opportunity. Now, I don't think anyone probably would ever get this in today's world, but you had a WWE tryout slash seminar with Dr. Tom Pritchard and D'Lo Brown, the greatest European champion of all time.
Right, right.
How did this even happen at the age of 13? Who do you
I
know?
know it's crazy, right? I mean, I luckily, back then I guess it was different, but I was actually in a very safe environment. Like there was, like obviously paperwork you had to sign, like you had to get parents' permission. Like they
Like
were
a field
really against
trip?
yeah, yeah, field trip side. Yeah, I did get a lot of pushback from my parents because obviously I was really young at the time, but they knew how much I loved wrestling. So the the stipulation was my mom had to attend like every training session and be there so to make sure like I wouldn't get hurt. But yeah, luckily it was a really awesome environment. Like Chip Stetson was my trainer. He's like my wrestling dad, I called him, because he's known me since I was 13. And yeah, the seminar was in Massachusetts, I believe. And I was just in awe to be there, because there was like obviously like older, guys there. I'm pretty sure I was the only girl there and the youngest,
I was gonna say
obviously.
you mean only 13-year-olds? Is that what you mean? Like,
Yeah, it was crazy, but I'll never forget it. That was an awesome experience, like to be a part of that. And I just, it was fun. The seminar, I remember the highlight was like taking an arm drag from D'Lo Brown, and seeing him on TV. I was like, wow, this is surreal that I'm in the ring, with people I grew up watching. So
right. So what exactly are you doing in these tryout seminars? And then you just mentioned there was more than one if your mom's
yeah,
there watching you. So
yeah.
what are you actually doing?
It's being trained the right way. I was very lucky, fortunate to be trained from someone that, Chip has been in the business for over 25 years. And, he really taught, the psychology of wrestling, and, how to be safe in the ring with yourself and others. And just really instilled like respect, and like just, always working on your character and things like that, as far as like, but also being, able to do the moves correctly
Mhm.
and safe. And yeah, it's been a blast, like learning from Chip.
So in these WWE seminars, are there grown adults there training or trying out as well? Are they just looking
Oh
at
yeah,
you like, what are
yeah,
you doing here? Who are you?
yeah, definitely. Like they're all of everyone's. Back then, I mean, there was a lot of guys in the indies that were trained. And yeah, but now I see, the direction that WWE is going. I'm hoping that they have more of the independent wrestlers get an opportunity for tryouts. That's where
Good.
I'm, hopefully an opportunity comes up.
Yeah, it seems like now if you're not a former football player or a track
Right.
star or Olympic gold
Yeah.
medalist, they're
Yeah.
like they're not interested because as an
Yeah.
independent wrestler, obviously you have done something else and you're all over the world. You're doing matches in different areas, but
Yeah.
you're learning on the job. The
Right.
WWE grabbing kids from college and
Right.
stuff like that, they don't know anything about wrestling yet. So it's like a blank slate versus
Right.
someone you have to get to like untrain you and then
Right.
train you
Right.
their way. And maybe that's a
Yeah.
good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. It depends how you look at
Yeah.
business. I don't run a
Yeah.
Fortune 500 company. I don't run a company that's on Wall Street. So
Yeah.
whatever they're doing obviously is working.
Right, right. I mean, I would hope, they give like people like us a chance, because, you grew up as a fan and you have the passion and love for the business. So it makes sense to like just maybe mix it in a little bit more. Hopefully, we'll see.
Fingers crossed
Yeah,
for you.
fingers crossed.
Uh, but your story kind of falls off though at the age of 13 because apparently, due to severe concussions, you
Yeah,
stepped away from wrestling and you didn't come back to the summer of 2021.
yeah.
So, when did you start receiving concussions? And at what point did you get medical advice? Obviously, your parents were getting it to say,
Right.
hey, you can't do this. Like, how at the age of 13, you're being trained in the WWE, but
Yeah.
at one point, at what age do you have to stop?
Yeah. I mean, that was tough for me. So, yeah, when I was training, and I was able to travel and around the Northeast, and take bookings for shows, as a teenager. That those were like my greatest memories. And things happen in the ring, unfortunately. And
Hmm.
I actually suffered two concussions, and I was 19 at the time. And I just remember during the show after the match, because they always say, it's best to finish the match, even though, whatever injury comes up. But so I remember I finished the match, and my mom was there, like in attendance. I remember she had to help me. Like I literally couldn't get up
Hmm.
after the match, and we went to the ER after. And so after that, I was really bummed and depressed for a while, because I that's what I wanted to do since I was 3 years old, was be a pro wrestler. So that was very traumatizing for me in my teenage years. But yeah, I did that for like 5 6 years. And then unfortunately I got the concussion again. And that, I a lot went by, a lot went on in
Yeah.
14 years. But I came back last summer. I decided, that life's too short. And my concussion. I don't know if you ever had a concussion or know someone that might have, but
I
you
have
know,
had
like
one before. I was in a
you have.
very
Okay.
severe car accident.
So then you're familiar with like stuff like vertigo or like the
Mm.
symptoms that happen after you get a concussion or migraines and stuff like that. That's what happened to me, unfortunately. So whenever I would try to, think about getting back to wrestling every couple of years, I would try to get in the ring and then my mind would go spinning or like some like the littlest like movement would trigger like
Wow, really?
yeah. So, but I mean, lucky, I'm gonna knock on wood that nothing after 14 years, I'm okay right now. Like nothing has triggered it. So thank God that, I feel blessed, lucky to not have any of those symptoms anymore so far. But
So you were trying at the age of 13, obviously, and you said at the age of 19, this concussion
yeah,
situation happened with your mother,
yeah,
and she needed to help you out of the ring. But at the same
yeah,
time, who is telling you medically you're not cleared to perform? Because obviously you yourself know your body the best. You're trying to
right.
get back into the ring, you're saying, and every
Yeah,
time you do enter the ring, you're
yeah,
getting symptoms. So
yeah,
obviously this is beyond concussions. Like
yeah,
this isn't concussions. This is something else because
yeah,
you're
yeah,
suffering for years, not a
yeah,
week or
right.
two,
Yeah,
years. So
years,
did you ever
yeah.
get medical advice on how to continue doing your what you love, but in a
I did.
safe environment?
Yeah, I did. I spoke with my doctor throughout the years, and he's always just been keeping an eye on, my health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I did get cleared before I got back into wrestling. I said, hey, you know what? I do want to get back into it again, and I said I feel fine now. You know, 14 years later, everything's okay. So
That's good to hear.
I'm just gonna keep going with
Yeah,
it.
of course. It just seems like I think some people don't understand
Yeah,
dreams,
yeah,
achieving them, because you achieved your dream at such a young age.
yeah.
So some people, I think it's hard for them to imagine that when you try to achieve your dream, it's like, oh, I got my dream, and then you get that part of your dream forever, like it continues on
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
Sometimes your dreams only happen for a day, and then
Yeah.
they go away forever, but you got to have your dream. So obviously 14 years went by. You did have your dream at a young age.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm guessing there was some mental anguish on yourself trying to figure out, why is this happening to me? Because
Right.
your dream is to become a professional wrestler. You did that,
Right.
you achieved
Right.
it, but now you can't even continue doing it because your
Right.
body's saying, I can't handle this. So
Right.
to say, how does that mentally make you feel at the time? It must have been very depressing.
Yeah, very depressing. Like I went through depression for years because of that. But
Yeah.
I managed to, somehow, get through it. Like friends and family that were always there for me and supportive. I'm very grateful to them. Throughout the years, they've been so supportive. And throughout the years, I know a lot goes by when you're 14 years goes by. But I went to college. I got my degree. I purchased a home. At 23, and then I did struggle with another thing that I recently, was very vocal about was coming out, about my sexuality because I
Mm-hmm.
did struggle with that too, with my parents not accepting, me coming out. So that was a struggle too. In my 20s, I went through that, but now, that I'm back in wrestling and like I feel like I'm like a 2.0 version of what I was when I was a teenager, like Kayla Sparks. And now I feel so much like confident and more like definitely I have like if you notice like with my gear, I have all the pride, rainbow
Yeah.
colors on there. So it's been great so far. Like I've been so much support from the fans and everything, just telling me like how much it means to them that they suffered something similar where their family or whoever wasn't accepting of them coming out, and that it's inspiring to see someone just push through no matter what setbacks they had in life, whether it was concussions or family not accepting or whatever. That's what I hope, like me coming back and telling my story and sharing my story with everyone out there, that there's always hope and to never give up, especially if you have a dream.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not to harp on this, but is your relationship better with your parents now or no?
Uh, with my mom, yeah, she kind of came around,
Yeah.
after I came back to wrestling, and it's been hard, for me, especially like throughout the years, because that's all you want is like your parents' acceptance and like just,
Of course.
you know, things like that. But yeah, I did go through it, and now I'm okay. Like, I'm just happy I have like all my friends and family support. That's important,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
first off, being openly gay in
yeah,
a wrestling environment in
yeah,
today's world, completely different
right.
than it
Oh yeah,
was 20 years ago when,
yeah,
we hear the unfortunate stories of Chris Canyon
yeah.
and the suffering that he went through. And yet,
Hmm.
in today's world, they're holding so many events, pride events for wrestlers and wrestling events and parades. And it's great to see that it's very opening. It's very welcoming. Come on, everybody. We're all a little kooky and crazy. We're all wrestling fans. We're all
Yeah,
wrestlers. So
yeah,
let's not, we're already judged by the world outside of our love for wrestling. Why would we
right,
judge each other in our own world? So
right.
I think it's great to hear that with the development of your relationship with your mother, and obviously fans are
Yeah,
very accepting of you as well. There doesn't seem to be any outlandish remarks, hopefully
yeah.
online, but it is Twitter, and Twitter will be Twitter.
I
Um,
know.
though you
Yeah.
have made history, because you're the first ever professional wrestler to be on SmackDown and be on AEW Rampage on the same night. This brings me back to ravishing Rick Rude being on an episode of Nitro and being on an episode of Raw on the
Yeah,
same night.
I know,
How
it's
how
crazy.
does this even happen for you? You just have a plaque. If I had a plaque, I would hand it
Yeah.
to you right now through Zoom
Oh,
somehow. You've earned
oh.
it.
You're the best, Steve. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I mean, I'm still blown away. I'm still mind blown that that even happened. Like, I just, ever since I came back to wrestling, my goal is like WWE and, AEW has been great to me too. So any opportunity that, comes my way, I'm just always hustling and grinding just to, take what I can. And so that actually that was all luck, I guess, or the universe, if you believe in all that, like the signs and stuff, which I'm silly. I believe in all that stuff. But
Of course.
like it was where was I? I was Bridgeport, Connecticut for AEW Rampage that night. And I actually had two matches. I was on AEW Dark Elevation with Nyla Rose, Diamante, and that was a trios match. And that was earlier. And then later on, you saw in there, I wrestled Serena Deeb, who I was really excited to wrestle her because she actually was in like the women's revolution. Like I have so much like respect for her, and I mentioned that like it's just awesome to see her still in the ring and killing it. But yeah, that was crazy to be on Rampage. So they filmed it that Wednesday, and then
Yeah.
Friday I knew I was going to WWE. I was invited there for extra work, not knowing what to expect. And they said, "Hey, we want you to be in the crowd for the Los Lotharios Kiss Cam." And I was like, okay. And then in my mind, I knew I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be crazy because Friday, SmackDown airs live at 8 p.m. on Fox, and then Rampage was gonna air at 10. And I knew my heart was racing because I remember leaving the arena that night, like all giddy and excited. Only a few people knew, like Chip, my wrestling dad knew. And he was like really excited. So I remember rushing to the hotel after SmackDown to get there in time so I could watch the live or the Rampage
Yeah.
match. And then I remember my phone just blowing up, which it's still surreal that happened.
It's got to be historic because
Yeah,
you think about it, like it's
yeah,
not easy to do
right,
that because
right,
if there was knowledge that you were going to be on Rampage,
yeah,
I'm guessing
yeah,
they wouldn't have called you for SmackDown.
right, right,
And
right,
keeping that information close to your chest can either be a good thing or a
yeah,
really bad thing. And
right,
obviously, no one seemed to care. No one called you up
yeah.
and yelled at you because,
I
again,
know.
you
That was actually
you were unfortunately you kind of were a background character in the SmackDown segment,
right,
so it
right,
wasn't so prominent as a match against Charlotte
right,
Flair, and
right,
then you're fighting on Rampage. That probably would have
right,
been red flags.
right. Yeah, I mean, everyone, both WWE and AEW have been so, so awesome with me, and nobody. I was actually scared of that, like, oh my God, what are they gonna think? Like, like I'm just trying to, like, whatever opportunity comes up, they totally respect that, and it shows like that, I have so much like love for wrestling that, it's cool to see. all my peers and stuff at WWE and AEW have been amazing. So I'm just happy I could have that moment happen.
Yeah, and you also took on Mercedes Martinez in AEW as well, one of my favorite women's
Yeah.
wrestlers of all time. I got to interview
Oh
her
yeah.
right
Oh,
before Ring of Honor, their pay-per-view in Lowell, Mass, Death Before
oh wow.
Dishonor, when she defended her title against Serena
Yeah.
Deeb. So
Right.
you actually have wrestled these two women who
Yeah.
I respect, I appreciate, and they've been in the business for so long,
Oh yeah.
still killing it, still doing what they do best. So that's outstanding. But you've accomplished so much already this year, as you mentioned. You were involved with
Mhm.
WWE in the Kiss Cam. You've been
Yeah.
involved with 24/7 championships. You've been
Oh
involved with a beautiful,
yeah.
extravagant, crazy wedding in the WWE. So I guess out of that bunch, like obviously your first experience going to these places is butterflies in your
Oh
stomach.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm assuming they continue on, but yet the butterfly effect obviously has changed in your stomach because you show up once, you're like a kid in a candy store, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, even,
Yeah.
and then as
Yeah.
time goes on,
Yeah.
are the butterflies going away, or
Oh my God,
are you
no,
normalizing
they're
the
always
situation?
they're always there. I'm just so excited to be a part of WWE, and every time they invited me back, I was just like you said, like a kid in the candy store. Like that's how I always am because like I said, I grew up watching wrestling. It's been like my passion, my dream. I had wrestler posters on my wall. I went, to all the shows when they used to come to Albany in my hometown for the MVP arena, which I'm hoping that, I can't believe, I don't know if you noticed, but MVP Arena, WWE and AEW are both going to be there coming up soon. Next month in September, AEW is coming there, and then WWE is coming there in November. But that would be a full circle moment if they invited me back to go to either one would be cool. But yeah, it's you mentioned Serena too, and I'm really looking forward to next month when AEW comes to the MVP Arena in my hometown. They haven't announced it yet, but I'm gonna have a match with Serena Deeb for the Immortal Championship Wrestling Women's title that I have, so I can't wait for that.
Outstanding! That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna be like it's carry on the storyline like where we had the match on Rampage and the tag match with Mercedes and everything. So it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
Oh, I know. And you've also performed in front of 20,000 fans at
Oh my
AEW's Grand Slam. You're the opening match against Thunder Rosa, the current AEW Women's Champion.
goodness.
I feel like I'm name dropping, but I'll continue doing it. I
Oh yeah.
interviewed Thunder Rosa,
Right.
and she was so nice to me. The funniest thing is, when we started, the first thing she said to me is, "I'm here for the interview, and I actually showered." And I'm like, I was
that's
like, I can't
that's
smell you through a
funny.
laptop. If I could, that'd be amazing. Technology
Yeah.
someday will get us
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
you 20,000 fans
I
for
know. I can't
Thunder
believe it.
Rosa. Is that the
Right.
biggest match you've ever had in your life?
Pretty much, yeah. That was my AEW debut as well, which was just so surreal. I'm still pinching myself. Like I still can't believe that happened to be the opening match, and just oh my gosh, it was so surreal just being there. 20,000 fans. Like I remember just like looking in awe, like at the crowd and just like trying to take it all in. And at one point, I remember I was just so excited when Thunder Rosa's music hit and the crowd just went nuts. And I could feel like, when you're like at a concert, you feel the bass. Like it
Mm.
was not bass, but it was just you could feel the crowd like just cheering and roaring. And I was like, wow, this is such an adrenaline rush. Like this is everything I ever dreamed of. Like this is amazing. And like I remember at one point I was like trying not to clap when Thunder Rosa came out because I was just so excited for her and for our match. Like I was just like really pumped, and I can't thank her enough. Like Thunder Rosa is amazing. She opened up so many doors for me, and opportunities like AEW and her Mission Pro promotion in Texas. I wrestled there a few times now, and she's just amazing. Like what she does for women's wrestling and giving opportunities for people like myself that wouldn't otherwise, be able to have a platform. So I'm really grateful for Thunder.
Yeah, I have never heard a bad thing about Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
from wrestlers.
Right, right. Yeah.
Fans, and again, Twitter will
Oh
Twitter,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they'll have their thoughts on whatever they
Oh
feel
yeah.
about Thunder Rose. But she is
Yeah.
quite an inspirational story as well,
Yeah.
and her helping you out to help
Yeah.
you level up in life. Obviously,
Yes.
that's good for you and good for her. So, what's your relationship with Thunder Rosa now after that huge matchup?
Oh my gosh, like I still to this day, like I'm always like we keep in touch, like we're great friends, and when I ever see her at AEW, I'm always like, hugging her or whatever, just like really supportive of each other. And when I was actually there for my match for AEW for Rampage, I posted a video of us backstage, and there was a moment where she was like, "Wow, from opening match on Dark to now being on Rampage on live TV for AEW. She's like, how amazing that you come so far in such a short amount of time too. Like, I mean, I'm just so blessed, lucky to be able to have all these opportunities and moments for my wrestling career. Like, it's been super amazing, and like, I'm still pinching myself.
You make a really good point. You were
Yeah,
out of the business for 14 years.
right,
Not like you were gone for a couple months.
right, right.
14 years. During
Yeah,
that 14-year time, there were people
yeah,
still continuously working,
right,
trying to get to where you are now,
right,
fighting in on the WWE shows, being friends
yeah,
with Thunder Rosa, fighting her in front of
right,
20,000 fans, Serena Deeb,
right.
Mercedes Martinez. Like, this,
Yeah,
this is not, sometimes there's talent, which you have, but also
right,
a little bit of luck. And,
right. Oh yeah,
and that's always on the side of everyone, I think, when you're trying to achieve your dreams is sometimes you can work as hard as you want, and
right,
sometimes it ain't going to work out.
right.
Clearly,
Exactly.
it's working out for you right now. And so, does that make you
Yeah,
feel pretty damn good when you're gone for 14 years? You come back and things
yeah,
just not just picked up,
yeah.
skyrocketed up.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm sitting here just like looking back on this past year, and like my friends and family always like pushed for me because, during those 14 years, I was in a, long-term relationship that ended, and like I was really depressed after that. And before I even thought about going back to wrestling, I just you just have that moment in life where you're just like, all right, I really gotta think about what makes me happy, what do I, what do I love and have passion for, and that was always wrestling, and that really drove me to like really, last summer when I decided to come back to wrestling, I didn't know that all of this stuff would happen. Now I just always had that like that positive mindset to just go for it, whatever happens happens, and I remember my first match back. It was at WWR Plus in Worcester, Massachusetts last summer. And I remember on my way to the show, this car came out of nowhere. I've never been in a car accident before this ever happened. And this car came out of nowhere and hit me. I almost died going on my way to my first wrestling match back after 14 years. So I just remember that moment where I was sitting in my car and my cousin April called me. Ironically, I'm really close with my cousin, and her mom passed. My aunt, I was really close with. She passed away a couple of years ago, and I just remember like having that moment, like I was mentioning about like the universe and the signs and this, and I remember she called me, and I was telling her how this person just hit me out of nowhere, and I had that moment where there was this random grasshopper that landed on my windshield, and I don't know, I looked up like what is the meaning of a grasshopper and stuff like that. If you look it up online, it means like about an awakening, or like if you look it up like a beginning of something or some revelation. And I was just like, wow. I was like, I just sat there and I was just like, this all I could think about was, oh man, I hope my car's okay to get to the wrestling show because I don't want to miss my match. And I remember that the trooper there was super nice, and he was like asking me about where I was going, where I was heading, and I told him my story. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're a wrestler." He's like, "Can I get?" He's like, "Actually, he's like, can I get your autograph? Because you never know, one day, you might be famous or something." So literally on the back, I remember the police reporter. He was having me. I'll never forget that. Like, what a moment! Like, I just got hit by a car, and the lady, I'm like, "Officer, is my tire okay?" Like, because my tire was about to like fall off my car, and he's like, "No, it's okay." So I drove off with my busted car. I went and had a amazing match, my first match back after 14 years. And I remember my cousin actually surprised me. She was in the crowd with her daughter Bella, and they had the signs and everything. You probably watch it back on YouTube, but you could see like how excited I was, and just so happy that my family were there, and the fans were cheering, and what an adrenaline rush to after that. I just remember my opponent, Rebecca Scott, she was making me laugh because she's like, I don't know how you did it, because anybody else would have just went back home and drove back home after they just got someone hit them, got into a car accident, but you pushed through and had a match. And yeah, I'll never forget that. So it always just stuck with me. Like, you never know, life's too short, anything can happen. You could die tomorrow. It just, if for me, like, I'm just so grateful for any opportunity, anything that comes up, and just always try to keep that positive mindset.
That car accident story is very interesting because it's like a fate or a test,
Yeah,
as you're here trying to get back into what you
right.
love, and your concussions,
Yeah,
this could turn into sideways pretty quick for you if you came back and
right,
suddenly got a concussion instantly. The car
right.
accident happens.
Yeah.
This could have been the pause, the stop. It's over. You're
Yep.
not going to try again.
Yeah.
Clearly, this was a moment that
Yeah.
was a test, possibly saying,
Yeah.
this is your moment. Are you going to
Yeah.
decide to keep going forward with this
Right.
broken down car with a tire
Right.
falling off?
Right. Right.
Or
Yeah.
are you going to go home and just go, well,
Yeah.
I guess it's not meant to be, but
Right.
you,
Yeah.
you decided
You're
the
right.
opposite.
Totally right. Like, it was totally a test, like, to see, like, do you really want this? And ever since, I just went with it, and just any opportunity that came up, I really worked hard to, get any opportunity. And it's been amazing ever since. So
I was gonna say I have a kind of a similar story, but not as bad as what you're describing.
yeah.
My first time ever going backstage to WWE to interview wrestlers,
Uh-huh.
I parked my car in the garage of the Boston Garden, and
Hmm.
somebody hit me. But
Oh
someone
no.
hit me when I was coming out after I interviewed people, and like my
Yeah.
side mirror's hanging off, the glass is
Oh
broken.
man.
But I'm like, I
Yeah.
talked to all these wrestlers. I'm like, da,
Yeah.
da, da, da,
Oh yeah.
da.
Right. Yeah.
I was like,
That's good.
oh, they slashed my tires. They stole my wallet. Oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Like it
I'm
didn't matter. It didn't
yeah.
matter because, like you
Yeah.
said, you were trying to get back and achieve your goals, achieve your dreams, and
Yeah.
clearly it happened. I did see though a video of you recently, not recently, but I saw a video on involving you. And you're at the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame,
Oh my
and
God.
and you're slightly yelling at Stephanie
Yeah.
McMahon, and
Yeah.
you're saying you're like, that's my future boss. That's my
I
future boss. And I see her dip down, and she's like,
yeah,
she
she
waved
that
at
was
you.
amazing, that
She
moment.
acknowledged. She acknowledged that she's your future boss.
Yeah, I mean, how crazy is that? And then ironically, like, a couple months later, there she is, the new CIO of WWE. So it, like, really manifested to that. But that was such an awesome moment, because I remember just standing there. I was front row. I was like, I'm not gonna miss this. Undertaker, like, my favorite of all time, and going and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm like, I can't miss this. So I ended up, going to Texas. That was my first WrestleMania. I went as a fan, and it's crazy because, like, it was really awesome to see everyone again. Because before that, everyone remembered me from doing extra work for WWE, and the camera guys like made me feel so welcome. They're like, "Hey, you," and then they would have the camera on me, like, there she is. And that was just like a surreal moment, like, that they actually remembered me, and I was like, wow, I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than me, and that was just huge. So, like, I remember being in the front row, and I saw Stephanie and Linda and HBK and like, Triple H. I was just like, wow. I'm like, I gotta do something. So I was just like, let me get my phone out, and just like try and get Stephanie. So, like, I remember Stephanie saw me, and I was like doing the waving, and then you saw in the video, her waving and pointing. I was like, my future boss.
Oh yeah.
But that was awesome. Awesome.
That was pretty cool to see. Again, the
Yeah.
excitement in your face, the sparkle in
Yeah.
your eyes, showing that
Yeah.
you're there, you're very excited, passionate
Yeah.
about the situation, and Stephanie acknowledging you.
I know.
Oh no, she could have just sat there because the rest of you looked at everybody else in that video. They're
I
like,
know, they're all like, oh, I know, that was funny.
I have so much work to do after this. Like,
Right, I know.
and then Stephanie like, hello.
I know. That was awesome. I'm glad that was awesome. I couldn't believe that she did that.
Yeah, that was really cool. But your nickname, Spice Ranger. Now,
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling we might be in the same '90s kid age bracket
Yes.
here
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
Power Rangers. Because at the
Yeah.
time in Power Rangers, number around 1995, Power
Yeah.
Rangers was like the biggest thing for a
Oh yeah.
child in the
Yeah.
90s. Go, go, Power
Oh yeah.
Rangers.
Yep.
Mighty
Exactly.
Muffin Power Rangers. You got Jason, you got
Yeah.
Tree, you got Billy,
Yep.
Zach, Tommy,
Yep.
Kimberly. So
Kimberly. Yep.
you got them all. Uh,
Yeah.
so is that where the nickname came from? Your love of Power Rangers?
Absolutely. That I was always in love, like you said, 90s kid, like growing up, Power Rangers were the thing, and it just always stuck with me. Like, I said, what's gonna besides wrestling, like what other things like growing up what I was passionate about was the Power Rangers were huge. And actually I actually got to meet finally Kimberly recently last year.
Oh.
And that was a surreal moment meeting her because she was like my hero growing up, like the Pink Ranger. I feel like every little girl wanted, to be the Pink Ranger growing up.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of my gimmick, like my character comes from, with the especially with the star logo that I created, the Kayla Sparks logo in the middle, like, kind of similar to what the Power Rangers, their outfit and like the belt buckle too, like I have now with the star logo there. I try to emulate that in a way, but being my own, with a little Kayla Sparks twist, and also Spice Girls. That's where the Spice and Spice Ranger comes from because
All right. There you go. Yeah, there you go. It could I guess you could have been Mbop
yeah,
Ranger, but
right?
that wouldn't have sounded
Yeah.
as good as Spice
Yeah.
Ranger. Another
Spice
another great band from the 90s, Hanson.
Yes. Oh yeah, Hanson was great. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, the '90s are a great time.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's cool to like grow up and be in love with the '90s and then wrestling. It's like it both like I feel like worlds collide, and that's that's like my gimmick, my character now. So I'm loving
That's
it.
amazing. God, I love the fact that you included Spice Girls and
Oh
Power
yeah,
Rangers and just
yeah,
combined them into
just
one.
combine it, yeah,
That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
yeah.
Because again, people love Spice Girls. People, if you grew
That's
up in the
right.
'90s, and Power Rangers was the biggest thing in the world. People had the toys.
Yeah,
People had the action figures.
yeah,
I remember meeting. I went to some event when I was a kid
yeah,
at a wedding or whatever, and someone's like, did you know the Blue Ranger's here? I was like, the Blue
yeah.
Ranger
Oh
is
my
here,
God.
and I'm like
Yeah,
8 years old. I'm like,
yeah,
what? So
yeah,
this guy walks up to me and he's like, hey, I heard you wanted to meet me. I'm like, who the f are you? It
yeah.
was the stunt guy, the
Oh my
guy
God.
who was actually in the
With the,
costume
yeah,
with the
with
helmet,
the slide.
doing all the bumps and bumping
I
around
always,
for a
yeah, I always
training.
wondered that, like if they did, because I know
No, he
some of them
didn't.
like have background in MMA or like gymnastics. I know like Kimberly did and stuff. So I feel like you would think like they would. I don't know. I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, but I was. I always thought they did all their stunts and flips
So did
and
I when
stuff
I
like
was 8. And guess what?
that.
My
Yeah.
my heart and my mind were broken that day when I saw this
Oh, I
man
mean,
walk up
I'm
to me. And
sure.
this is later on because the original, if
Yeah.
no one knows, original Power Rangers was just
Yeah.
like it was shot some in a different country, and America brought it
Yeah.
over and just dubbed it over. And then
Right.
all those moments in high school of Tommy and Jason and hanging out, those are like the
Yeah.
new thing shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like new and old splicing together. They finally started taping new episodes, and
Yeah.
this guy who tried to tell an 8-year-old Steve that he was the Blue Ranger.
I know. What the heck? I
Uh,
actually, what's crazy surreal is that I actually attended my first Comic Con for a meet and greet, and the table next to me was the original Alpha 5 from Power Rangers. I was like, wow, this is just so, I don't know. I have it on my Instagram, my social stuff, but I remember we did this little video where I pretended I was on my the train, like the communicator transmitter thing. I forget what it was.
yeah.
At the Power Rangers when Zordon would call in, like, and I did this little like Zordon, we need you, or like, and then Romy was her real name's Romy. She was great. She's a great friend now of mine. I can't believe I'm saying that original Power Ranger, Alpha 5
Wow.
friend, but she was awesome, and she was doing that ay, 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 like a little gimmick thing, so that was cool. And she got the whole. I gave her my Immortal Championship Wrestling Women's Champion belt to hold, so that was a surreal, cool moment.
So it was a trade off. You're like,
Yeah,
give me the I,
wrestling
and
and
I will
I.
let you hold my belt. All
Yeah,
right,
yep,
my
yep,
championship
that's
gold. All right, you do the I's, and we'll make a
Yep,
deal.
yeah,
That's hilarious. That's
yeah.
amazing that you got to see. And I imagine that happens to her all the time.
I'm
But
sure it does.
I
Yeah.
bet, you know, like
Yeah.
this, the joke was funny the first time the person heard it,
Yeah.
and then
Right. Right.
20 years of
Yeah,
hearing
I
the
know.
same joke of
I know.
but hey, whatever. But yeah, you
Yeah.
are currently the Immortal Champion, Women's Champion. You work for your
Yeah.
first ever Capital Championship Wrestling Network Champion, Mission Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling from the Roses group,
Yeah.
Women's Wrestling Army, Maria Kanellis' group. So
Yes.
you're involved with everybody. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
are you a hot commodity right now? Are you so? Are
I'm not
you
the
someone
best
being
at
reached and tried to be pulled
Yeah.
everywhere right now?
I'm just any opportunity, like just whatever comes up, I'm just happy and grateful to be a part of. Like I'm still pinching myself that when you just said it now, I'm like sitting here like, wow, I can't believe that. Like, and actually Maria's been amazing. She's amazing what she's doing right now with Women's Wrestling Army and giving a platform, like Thunder, like what she's doing with Mission Pro and just giving everyone an opportunity to showcase their talents. And there's so many like talented women wrestlers out there now, and I'm just so happy to be a part of that. And I actually got their first show. I defended the CCW Network Championship title in a match there for their first show, which that was super exciting. So
Yeah.
that
That was where I'm in Boston, so that was a local show. You talk about Maria
yeah,
Canellis's,
yeah,
that was local.
yeah,
I want to say
against another body. That was cool.
I want to say it was in Rhode Island.
I think it was Rhode Island.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure it was Rhode Island.
yeah, I love that arena they were in. It was very
Yeah.
very quaint. I enjoy it. I've been
Yeah,
there
the
for a
Speed
few
Music
times.
Hall, I think it was called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, you've done so much so far this year, coming back 14 years. What are your goals for the
Oh my
rest
God.
of this time you got going on? Because 14 years was missing. You gotta
Yeah.
somehow get it all back.
Right, right. I know it's just I'm like I was saying, it's just any opportunity I'm just so grateful for, and I'm just gonna keep going until the wheels fall off, until everything's all said and done. But I'm just my goal is, WWE has been my dream since I was a kid, and AEW has been awesome too. So whatever comes up, just gotta keep doing it, keep grinding.
Outstanding. Well, the Spice Ranger.
Yes.
I love that nickname. Kayla Sparks, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here on my
Thank you.
show. I had a great time talking to you. I think you have a very inspirational story. So many things have happened to you. Obviously, suffering sometimes make people stronger,
Oh yeah.
and here you are now, stronger than ever.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I gotta say again, thank you so much for being here, folks. I've been Steve Fall. She has been the Spice Ranger, Kayla
Oh,
Sparks.
thanks,
It's
guys.
been a
I,
pleasure
I
talking to
love you
you.
guys. Thank you.
Listen, before I wrap this up, I announced I was going to talk to you, and it was just like
I know.
tweet, 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 and I'm like,
Yeah, I
wow,
know.
she
It was
is
awesome.
very loved in this world,
Yeah,
and that's a good thing. And I think we had a good time talking, folks. I've been
definitely.
Steve Fall. She's been Kayla Sparks. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.